chat. I like it. Abraham, what is up? John, good morning. John, I hope that you are feeling better. Diego's with us. Good morning, Diego. Good morning, Hobby Universe, says Jenny. What's up? Good to see you back, Diego. I concur. I agree with that. Johnny Boy Cards, what is up? Zach and Porter with us. Good morning to you, Rich. Ed is with us. Good morning. Rich says, since Bo's a radio guy, I'll let him research why I say good morning. I don't know. I will have to look that up. Jenny asks, Rich, what's for breakfast? Mark Hoyle in the house. Good morning. Good morning. So I am wearing today a Deaky Van shirt. You probably have never heard of Deaky Van. Deaky Van is a made-up video game basketball player. And then it kind of took the internet by storm during COVID. So the reason I bought one is because a writer from, I think, Bleacher Report during COVID needed content. There were no games to report on, no college basketball, no NBA. So he decided to run a series on, I think, Bleacher Report, playing a video game, playing NCAA college basketball 2008 in career mode. He was going to do like he was going to create a coach, and I think Coach Ricky, and he was going to first try to the initial goal in this project that he created was to take the worst ranked college basketball team according to that video game in, I think, 2008, and try to win a national championship. Well, he did that. It took a few years, but he got it. And then after he piled up a couple more championships, he tried to break the record. He tried to break John Wooden's record in a 40-year career. I think he fell one championship short he did finish the 40-year career mode. But early on, like when it was really, really popular and getting a lot of hits, one of the star players from the video game was a player named Deaky Van. And I think this says like most outstanding player. I don't know. But all of a sudden, like it grew legs of its own. And so I know there was a writer from, I think, Japan who wrote like a story about like a short story, or maybe even a novel about, like, I don't know if it was Deaky Van or the coach, but it grew legs of its own. Another player started, or another viewer was tracking stats, like had a spreadsheet on all the stats. Another guy created after Deaky Van graduated or left the draft early, created him on the Seattle Supersonics. So then they're like, we're getting a lot of, fun feedback on this. So they created these Deaky Van t-shirts, and they're pretty cool. Oh, the reason why I bought one, the reason that I loved this series was because the worst ranked team on the video game that he used to try to win all these championships was my alma mater, Western Illinois University. We had some really, really bad basketball teams in the early and mid 2000s. Fortunately, by the time I worked in the athletics department, starting in 2011, we started having some good teams. I traveled with the basketball team, and my first year, we also made a Division I postseason tournament for the first time in program history. Was the College Basketball Invitational, the CBI. And I know for people that follow, the Big Ten and big time college basketball at the Division I level, it's like, oh, that's the crappy. But for us at a low major from the Summit League, never having been to the NCAA tournament or the NIT, it was a big deal. I had to cancel my spring training trip that year in 2012 to have the nightmare flight to Corvallis, Oregon. And then our second year was disastrous. The end of the season, we ended up playing Purdue in West Lafayette in the CBI. But towards the end of the season, we played in ESPN's Bracket Busters, which was not popular whatsoever by coaches. I know some fans liked Bracket Busters before it eventually jumped the shark, but coaches absolutely hated it because it came at like towards the end of the year where you're in that conference groove, and now you have to go play Cleveland State. And that's, unfortunately, we played Cleveland State in a bracket busters game, and one of our all-time best players in program history, I can't remember if he broke his ankle, sprained his ankle, but anyway, he was lost for the rest of the season from a stupid bracket buster game. And then in our conference tournament, arguably one of the greatest players in our program's history, Ciola Clark, tore his ACL in the quarterfinals or must have been semifinals of our conference tournament. So we were without our two best players in the CBI, and we played Purdue well. I think we actually led close to halftime, if not at halftime, but ended up losing by like 20 points. So anyway, them's the breaks in low major college basketball. So that's why I'm repping Deaky Van today. Where are we at in the chat? Victor's with us. Cooter is here. Good morning. Enjoying the front porch before locking down inside for 110-degree heat while Bo is probably in a hoodie. Probably. I think we're supposed to get more heat today. It was very humid yesterday, but it wasn't hot and humid. It was warm and humid, and I think it reached like 85 or 86 with that humidity. So it was, for me, comfortable. I could sit outside and not just sweat sitting out there. So I ran some sprinklers. But it was for me, I enjoyed it. And last night so Herman, I don't know if Herman's in the chat yet, but hopefully Herman's feeling better. My plan was it was nice. I ended up listing a little over 300 cards into my eBay store. I got over that 16,000 mark yesterday. So after that, it's like, I'm going to have a couple beers and I'll turn on Herman and Ken on the patio. And then I saw the message that Herman wasn't feeling well and they weren't doing a show. So I just kind of hung out, ran some sprinklers, and then it's like, oh, well, the home run derby's going on. So I ended up watching the home run derby. We'll talk home run derby. We'll talk giveaways. We'll talk draft notes because I did some homework and I've got some stats for you on the baseball draft numbers. So we'll share those. And no national talk, not here. Well, maybe Juan Soto and the Washington Nationals, but no national card show talk. Although I will plug my own show this Saturday, the Madison Card Show. What is it? July 23rd, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sheraton Hotel on John Nolan Drive. Take a sip. 120 tables sold out. In fact, I'm oversold, expecting, some late cancels as always, but oversold. 120 tables. I'm oversold to the point where if the worst case scenario, everybody shows up, that's actually good. That I'm struggling to I'm hoping that I get a couple late cancels, a couple, not like 10 like typical, but just a couple, just to bring that number so we're at a nice happy spot. But I plan for some overflow tables where I can just kind of pop them in. So I do have a little bit of wiggle room. So that's this Saturday. Looking forward to it. And my buddy Adam, the Dollar Box, he's going to be in town. We're going to do some video, and we might do a Dollar Box challenge. Go head to head. Who comes out on top? So that'll be fun. So if you're in the area or within driving distance, come on out to Madison, Wisconsin for the show this Saturday. Victor, what is up? Good morning to you. The card hobbyist is here. The home improvement is going slow but well. Well, that's good. Rich says I had a bagel, peanut butter crackers, and a bottle of water. That was Rich's breakfast. Jenny's asking about Julio Rodriguez. Is J-Rod the next Griffey? Yesterday I was full because I had too much to eat on Sunday, so my lunch was one of Bo's faves. Stuffed everything bagel minis and a large coffee from Dunkin', my spot. I love it. Stud Boy sports cards in the house. Good morning. I was not expecting this elaborate of an explanation. There you go. That's sometimes I'll throw curveballs. Leo, what is up? Happy Taco Tuesday. David, good morning. George, by the way, another sidebar George. I'm glad George is in here because I had a dream last night. This is a wacky, wild dream. George was part of it. I better explain before your minds go in the gutter. So I had a dream that I was I was with a bunch of friends, like I think my high school friends, and I had bought like some stuff from Goodwill. Okay, follow here. And with friends, I just bought some Goodwill, and I'm hanging out with some friends, and I'm going through this box that I bought from Goodwill. And what was in it was some of George's stuff. George is like, what? Random ticket stubs. And I don't know why this popped in to my head, because George, we haven't talked about like concerts, or because George has been to a ton of concerts. But all of a sudden, like George and his concerts popped into my dream last night. And I'm finding all of these ticket stubs in the Goodwill box. And they were George's ticket stubs. And so I got on Twitter, because George is in Korea and I'm somewhere here, whether I was in Madison, Wisconsin, or my hometown in Illinois. I was going through these. I'm like, oh my God, these are George's tickets. I've got to tweet him. I think that tells you I spend too much time on Twitter and thinking about Goodwill pallets, which, by the way, there should be one that I should be purchasing another one this week. So we'll see. So I just wanted to share that with George. And George is probably looking for his old ticket stubs now. Jenny says, Zach and P. Bo is the only one I know that can share stories like this on a t-shirt. Let's see. Cooter says 84 degrees already, only 71 here and sunny. We'll do it this way. There's Rich dropping the link. Oh, is that a weather? ATX treasure chest in the house. Good morning. Anyone here if Dan made it to the U.S.? He was providing some updates on Facebook, and I think the last update I saw, he was on a plane from LA to Chicago. So he should have landed. So he's probably sleeping. I know I'd be, if I flew from Korea or anywhere from Asia to the US or vice versa, I would spend like the next 2 days sleeping. Because I can't sleep on a plane. So however long I'm on a plane, my very first European flight, I didn't know how to I didn't know how to prepare sleeping wise. And I tried, but I failed. I just can't sleep on trips. I can sleep anywhere. I could sleep standing up, but I can't sleep on a plane or a bus. So we got to our final destination, and I was freaking exhausted. Tracy, good morning. What? Oh, I skipped ahead. Sweet. That was George. Let's see. 608 Sports Cards. What's up, Cody? A kid from Middleton got drafted. I did see that. I didn't look up his name. I just saw the headline on one of the local news sites. Let's see. George asks, was Yachty in it with us? No Yachty Molina sightings in my dream. Tracy says, good morning. Going to be a humid one today. Already nasty outside. I'm looking forward to it. I'll go outside for my second cup of coffee and just soak it all in. I love the humidity because it's like a warm, isn't this strange? I like the humidity because it feels like a warm blanket. It's like you go outside. It's like you're comfy in a nice warm blanket on the patio, drinking a hot coffee. Doesn't make sense. George says it could be true because I do have a long lost box of ticket stubs and guitar picks somewhere in the U.S. Well, and I'm picking up a Goodwill pallet at some point this week. So if there's a bunch of like concert ticket stubs in there, I'm going to like freak out. Premonition. The card hobbyist says had biggest day of eBay sales yesterday, 20 cards in an order. Not bad considering I have less than 1,500 cards listed, all football quarterbacks. Interesting. I do have my eBay numbers up. Yesterday was an average to below average day. I had a good Sunday, slightly above average on Sunday. Let's see. Saturday was slightly above average for a Saturday. Typically Saturdays are my slow day. Monday was slightly below average. Last 30 days, sales dollars are up 5%. So, a little bit better than June. We're 19 days into July. My traffic, though, is way up. My listing impressions, now I've been adding a ton of new inventory here over the last couple weeks. So my traffic impressions, so eyeballs seeing my listings, are up 39%. And I'm getting close. I'll hit 20 million impressions over the last 30 days at some point today. I'm at almost 19.9 million impressions over the last 30 days. So should hit 20 million for the first time at some point today. My page views, which is a little more important than impressions. Views are when people actually click on your listing. That's at a little over 28% above the last 30-day period. So my traffic is up significantly, but that's also has something to do with I'm also listing significantly more than what I did in the last 30-day period. So if I continue on that same track, we'll see on August 19th how those numbers track. Since I'm listing so much, my sell-through rate's also dropping, and I'm around like 0.5% now, 0.5, like right at 0.50%. Where, the height of the boom, I was around 2.3%. When I started full time, I was 1.3%. And then it's just kind of declined as I've scaled up and added more inventory. Those early numbers were based on about 3,000 active listings. Now I'm at 16,000 active listings. So that was a known that those sell-through rates would drop. Let's see. Jenny says, awesome to cart hobbyist. Where are we at here? eBay has been straight fire this weekend and yesterday. Note, I do have a sale going, but I woke up to over 100 cards sold since I went to bed at 10 p.m. That is awesome. ATX says, going through my big card shop purchase, listing from it about 15,000 cards for $200. Nice. I like those bulk deals. Huddle card collection. Good morning to you. Jenny says, wait, you already bought another Goodwill pallet to pick up this week. Not purchased yet, but one should become available at some point this week. ATX says, my month is way up. Hoping this is a trend and I can keep growing. Absolutely. I've been looking all over and can't find where to get the pallets from Goodwill. Leo says, how many balls did Pujols hit out of the infield during the home run derby? I will surpass my total sales from last year by the end of the month and dollars by the end of next month. That's awesome. Speaking of tracking, we stopped tracking the Wander rookie. I'll go look at solds. Now, I still have the Wander rookies on my whiteboard in front of me. The Saturday of release week, the average sold for a top series 1 Wander Franco. John, just in time to hear us talk about Wander Franco. The Saturday of release for the top series 1 Wander Franco rookie, average sale, and I used the last 10, $14.52. By April 16th, the average was still higher than I expected. Lower, but higher than I expected, $10.92 on the last 10 sales of the Series 1 Wander Franco rookie. Jenny reports, Wander sold this morning $5 with 1 shipping. Yesterday, $3.38 with $1 shipping, so $4.38. So right around $5. That's okay. That's not bad. What else? The ball wall. The ball wall is being reconstructed. I had to take the wall ball down when the painters were here last week. So my handyman came and helped put those back up. That was his laser, not mine. I don't have fancy. I don't know how to It was a longer project than it should have been because I got my hands involved, and this is why we have a handyman. Because I can't do simple tasks without pulling a Tim Allen. So, I pulled a couple anchors out of the wall. So there's a couple big holes and all that good stuff. So poor Paul the handyman, had to fix my oopsies. But we got it, and the ball wall is back in place. The good is that I discovered where I bought them because they're no longer being sold on eBay, which is where I initially bought them like 7 years ago. The prices haven't gone up too much on those cases. If you've seen my ball wall, I know a lot of people ask me, where did you get those? And it's like, I got them on eBay, but I can't find them anymore. sfdisplay.com is where I bought them, and the prices haven't gone up as much as I thought. I bought them for like $100 shipped back in 2015, 2016. And now I think they're $150. So I know that's percentage wise, that's significant, but over 6 years, 7 years, especially now with prices we're seeing on different things, I was pretty surprised that they were 150. So got those back in place. So that was the ball wall project. Let's see. John says Wander is the crypto of cards. Let's see. Does Bo have the Tool Time girls too? I do not. I went to bed last night thinking Bo rigged up that laser. Last night's slumber was a fraud. Wander couldn't hold John's pantaloons. I'm sure Wander will have a great career selling timeshares in Punta Cana. So let's see. So I think that's what I had to recap. So now on to the topics. I've got some draft notes. I did some homework. I think John was actually asking, what's the success rate? So I didn't do by round, but I did check. I just wanted to check, like, what are the percentages on the first overall pick? And then I wanted I wanted to be, I wanted a little more clarity on, okay, well, if they made it to the big leagues, but only played in one game, that I would still consider that a bust for a number 1 overall draft pick. Now for a, 27th round pick, no. So I wanted to run some numbers. So I did run some numbers on first round, on a couple various first round pick selections. And I also ran numbers on a couple random picks. One, because it was the first pick of the day yesterday of the 3rd round. And then the first 2 Cubs picks, just because, it was the Cubs. Card hobbyist J-Rod was impressive in the Derby. I'm going to talk about that. We'll get into the numbers on the draft as well. We need basketball, football, and hockey WAR. They do. I don't know. Basketball has something. It's not WAR, but it's something along the same lines. I'm not sure. I don't follow those sports as closely. We'll talk home run derby. We'll talk draft. We'll talk giveaway, which I'll get to next. And then no national talk. So the giveaway. So yesterday it was brought. Well, first off, somebody mentioned it in the chat. PER says card hobbyist. I think that's what it is. I think you're right. Something very similar. Then he'll be a god here. Then he'll have a down season and return to the U.S. as a pharmaceutical or insurance salesman. I know a few guys that did that. So it was first brought to our attention here in the chat of Hobby Evolution Friday morning. Did you hear about the non-giveaway on GOGTS Live last night, which happened last Thursday? I did not, and I typically don't watch. I've watched a few times, but I'm not a regular viewer of the program. But I didn't know anything, so I didn't comment. Then it was brought up on Hobby Hotline on Saturday morning, and the panel was defending the actions of the non-giveaway giveaway. And it kind of fired me up because it was almost seemingly a double standard, because everybody's up in arms over the non-giveaway Trevor Lawrence Kaboom from Backyard Breaks. Pretty similar situation. However, I did review the video. Somebody linked it yesterday in the chat. I still feel the same way. I still feel that it should have been given away. There should be clarity on giveaways. However, it was handled with more tact. Rob handled it much, much better than the Backyard Break guys handled it. I think initially when Backyard Breaks pulled the Trevor Lawrence Kaboom, I think you could come to some assumptions that their intention was to keep it because, oh my God, we can't give away a $20,000 card. Whereas Rob's initial intention was kind of like thinking it through and let's give this to charity, where the Backyard Break situation, I think they did give to charity, but I think it was only because of receiving so much backlash from their initial reaction. So, however, after that whole situation, I know it was different situations, but just come out with some disclosure and clarity, especially if you're opening up product. And Rob had mentioned in the live video that they've never had this happen, but it always can happen, especially when you're opening new product on a weekly basis. And have something in, okay, if we pull something that comps out at X amount, whatever it is, and comps can be, but if it's a Trevor Lawrence kaboom or what Scotty Barnes, whatever it is, or a superfractor if it's in baseball, you have an idea this is a bigger card than what you want to give away. And it doesn't have to be, okay, if it's $10,000, we're not going to give it away. And then somebody runs to the internet and says, well, the last one sold for $9,780. So you have to give this away here right now. So a rough, okay, this is just come out and say, we're going to give this away unless it's a really big hit. It's up to our discretion. At least have some disclosure where we're not going to tell you something and do another. But I think it was handled with much more tact and in a much more respectful way. So, and it's interesting because I was sharing my viewpoints on Hobby Hotline without actually watching the video. And I think Yamwax, Corey, kind of thought and backstepped on his opinion based on the back and forth in the chat, as well as, the panel's views. And I'm doing the same. And, I think everybody is pretty close to agreeing whether they were on one side of the fence or the other in that whole situation. So that's my viewpoint. I still think it's crappy to announce a giveaway, or if you do a giveaway on a weekly basis and then say, oh, let's take a step back. At least this was a learning lesson. And I hope going forward that there's some disclaimers like, hey, we're going to give stuff away unless it's a Scotty Barnes, whatever card. I didn't know a Scotty Barnes card could be worth that much. I'm like, Scotty Barnes, what? Maybe he's better than I thought. I don't follow basketball too closely. NBA basketball. But so I come back. I was pretty like, hey, if you do a giveaway, give the damn card away. But I've stepped off that ledge a little bit. I've come back a little bit. But hopefully going forward, there's some disclaimers. So I'm going to go to the chat. I just wanted to get all of my thoughts on that before I started reading, and because you know how I can get distracted and go on sidebars. So let's go back up here to Huddle Card Collection. Says Ken Griffey Jr. was the first overall number 1 to make the Hall of Fame. Absolutely. Let's see. Hockey has Fenwick and Corsi. Only thing I've ever been up in arms about was Cy Berger dumping 52 tops at sea, right? Jenny says, frankly, I am tired of giveaways just to look like this great guy company and get followers. I see way too many card giveaways on Twitter, or just follow me, tag friends, do this, do that. I agree, and I was one of those annoying guys that did that when I kind of wanted to build my Twitter following. So I was totally guilty, and I do giveaways every once in a while. But you know what? I did those giveaways to gain a following. Like, I didn't do a giveaway because out of the kindness of my heart. I think I'm a pretty nice guy, but I did those Twitter giveaways to get more followers. And I know some people like, oh, I give to charity. I give to give away. Well, do you really, or do you do it to get some clout? I did giveaways to gain clout. I will say it. And if you think different of me, that's okay. At least I'm honest. George says, here's the thing. How about give it away to a person and then ask, what would you like to do with it? Hey, that's initially I agree, but I'm going to take a step back. And it's one of those situations where you go into like a 50-50 that's, say you're at like a fundraiser and there's a 50-50, like you go in with the expectation that unless it's like an obscene amount of money and say it's like 20,000, say the pot's $20,000 and 10,000 goes back and the 10,000 is for you. you're probably going to like give away 1,000. Like, okay, I'm going to keep 9,000 of it and I'm going to give the charity 1,000 because you've already probably given away here and there. You've paid for your fundraising ticket. But if it's like $500, it's small. It's going to benefit your local little league team that doesn't have a pot to pee in. You know, the expectation is give it back. But I hate, and here's why I kind of like sidestepped on that, because if it's already brought up that it's almost like you're encouraged to like give it away or do something. And I hate being pressured into giving to charity. Like, I will give to charity, you know, appropriately. Like, I don't know how but I don't like feeling pressured. Like, hey, you have to give this amount to this. If you win this, you have to give it away. You know, in certain instances, I think there's just an assumption. You go in like, okay, if I win this 50-50, I'm just going to give it back. Or if it's like $10,000, I'm going to give back 2,000 or 1,000. And I get it's probably different for, you know, that's a lot of money for me. And it's a lot of money for most people. You know, if it's a millionaire, they're like, oh, $10,000, have it back. But for me, it's like, oh shit, I'm gonna give you 1,000. I'm gonna take because I've already spent all this other money. So, but I hate that feel. It's like we talked about this about like a home run ball or a foul ball in a game, and it's like you feel pressured to give it to a kid. But what if you have a son at home that couldn't come to the game, or you have a nephew, and it would make their year if you caught a foul ball or a home run ball, but you're pressured to give it to some stranger's kid sitting 2 rows behind you. It's like, I don't like that. I don't like that pressure feeling. Let's see. Rich says, I did not watch the GOGTS episode, but I think Bo is right in that Rob tried to do the right thing. And yes, a decision should be known up front. George adds, I stopped doing any giveaways. Now I'll just send something to a person you know. Meanwhile, the BB boys were obviously greedy in their video. I agree. It was handled, and that's the biggest difference. And I agree. And after watching the GOGTS video, that's why I stepped back. And it's like, okay, they did this with much more tact than the backyard breaks, where their initial reaction was, oh my God, this is a $20,000 card. We're going to keep this, you know? And then it's like, they get the backlash. And then it's like, oh, we're going to give to the Boys and Girls Club or whatever charity it was. So yes. Let's see, where are we at in the chat? ATX says, why don't they just do the break, then do the giveaway? Then Jenny says, I agree, George. Plus, I'd rather have a following of a group of guys I know and interact with than worry about the numbers, quality versus quantity. And, you know, I know there's a lot of like, when it comes to Twitter giveaways for followers and all that, there's a lot. Well, it's just prize pigs that are following. I actually met some great people through doing, they became aware of my Twitter stream through a giveaway. In fact, a follower, it was a great story. I think he initially came as like a giveaway, and it was, I think, a Pearl Jam poster, and he's a Pearl Jam fan, and he saw that I posted some Pearl Jam content, and we ended up doing some trades. He wrote Lauren wrote a guest blog for me during COVID, because he came back during COVID. And there's a lot of that. But then you get, and I track like who's unfollowed. And it's like, okay, this guy, every time I do a giveaway, he follows me and then he unfollows me. And so those people get blocked. Let's see. George says, exactly, better have a group of friends. Card Hobbyist says, hearing the phrase step back from the ledge causes a certain song to get stuck in my head. ATX says, that's like putting cards up for auction. If they end low, it still needs to be sent to the winner. More followers means more potential customers, and that's also a great point. Let's see. Jenny says, I do see the reason people want to build followers. I'm just not a fan of these big giveaways to charity because, like Bo says, do you really? I volunteer for nonprofits and don't brag about it. And that's what I mentioned yesterday. It's like, you know, it's more noble to give to charity and not announce it to the world and, you know, take selfies at the wherever you're at. And, I'm not saying don't do it, but it's just, like what's the intent of giving to charity? Cooter says, after 30 years in accounting and auditing, I don't trust, quote, charities as far as I can throw them, especially ones that wrap themselves in a cause. I have seen too many people enrich themselves. Well said. Well said. George says, I was talking about in private. Gotcha. Okay. For example, say congrats, and then when contacting them, just say, would you like to throw a little to charity anonymously? That's a little better. That way you don't have the pitchforks out with the everybody. Because, of course, the people that didn't win, you've got to give that to charity. You've got to give that to a kid. Paige and Dina Bean, what is up? Good morning. Julio Rodriguez was the winner with 80 home runs, in my opinion. We're going to talk about the home run derby, and I'm going to share my opinion on the home run derby. Cooter says there's a saying, if you want to get rich, form a 501c3. To be specific, charities that pop up wrapped in a popular cause. Got it. Zach and Porter says breaking is essentially gambling. Not sure why anyone would think the house isn't in it for something. Unless you do something like Herman does, everything is up for a curveball. Card Hobbyist says giveaways add a number of followers, but not quality. Most of those new followers won't continue to engage. And I have seen, I think you'd be surprised at how much engagement you can get from giveaway followers. I did a ton of giveaways to build my following. When I kind of first stepped into hobby Twitter, and a lot of those, people, and it wasn't necessarily people that wanted to win the things. It was other people that were retweeting, and their followers saw it. And so, they're like, I'm going to check this account out. I'm a Cubs fan, or I'm a baseball card collector. So I think you'd be surprised at how many quality followers you can get from doing giveaways. Rich says, hey, as a person who has run a card show for my synagogue's brotherhood, and none of us take a penny out, we can talk about what is good and what is not good. Abraham says, jumping off, I'll catch the rest later. Hey, you have a great day. Quick change of subject, NASCAR coming to the streets of Chicago. Done, back to baseball card talk. Let's see. Rich says, I usually just post the giveaways and I don't even care if I follow the people. I just want others to see them. But unlike some of you all, I don't live on Twitter. I live on Twitter. Actually, I haven't been on Twitter as much recently. That's exactly why I retweet the giveaways. I actually stopped the giveaways after 2 people won, got the prize, then unfollowed. That's really shitty. When a winner unfollows you, that's really crappy. Card Hobbyist says, I have a Twitter, but don't use it very much either. So let's talk about what was all on my agenda. So giveaways, check that off. We've got some home run derby talk, so let's get into that. And then I'll share some of my draft notes. Mark says, I don't even join the giveaways. So the home run derby was last night. I am a renewed big fan of the home run derby. I loved the home run derby as a kid because I think most of us did. And then it just kind of like, as we age, I don't know, it just kind of, it's just kind of like, kind of like the slam dunk contest. Like, man, I loved that when I was a kid. And, I think all of us probably had home run derbies on the sandlots in our backyards, wiffle ball or whatever. Had slam dunk contests lowering our basketball hoops. But man, a few years ago, the home run derby got super stale. They injected some life into it with this new, and I've seen some backlash. Man, there was a ton of backlash on the home run derby. The old method, it sucked. It was long. It was drawn out. It was boring. The old way was boring. And I like the baseball's a game of strategy. And I like that the home run derby is now more strategic. And it's not about hitting the most home runs. Julio Rodriguez hit the most home runs, but that's not what the home run derby is about. If it was about that, it would be boring and I wouldn't have watched it last night. But I like the matchups. I like the brackets. I like you seed it. You have matchups. And there's strategy because, if you can beat the other guy, and that's why, you get that bottom of the inning advantage, where, you can save some time because the first guy up has to go the full length because he's hitting as many home runs as he can. If he only hits 19 home runs, next guy up only needs to hit 20. But the first guy, he goes in thinking I have to hit 35, and he takes all that time and burns that extra energy, where the next guy in, he hits his 20th home run, he may save 30 seconds of energy, which is helpful to move on to the next round. I love the strategy. It's timed. And I know there was a lot of, heck, going back a couple years ago when Schwarber was with the Cubs and faced off against Bryce Harper in the finals. Hey, now they're teammates in the home run derby. And it was like, hey, Bryce Harper's dad is throwing too early. And I think that came up a couple times last night, just in some articles I read this morning, headlines I read this morning. But I love the matchups. And I am now a renewed fan of the home run derby. I hated the old method. I thought it sucked. I don't care if player A hits more home runs than player B. I like the strategy of the matchups, and it's fun. It's more exciting. I can't believe I'm about to say what I'm going to say. I kind of miss Chris Berman. I said it. I can't believe it. The panel was a little boring, but the action on the field made up for it. So that's my thought, home run derby. And I'd like to know your thoughts. I think, was it Paige and Dina Bean? They did not like it because of Julio Rodriguez. He hit the most home runs. I disagree. I like the strategy, and I would not change a thing about the home run derby's setup. Let's see. John says, I had a giveaway during Hobby Palooza and it went swimmingly. Let's see. Zach and Porter said, I actually showed up today thinking Bo was doing a giveaway. Thumbnail was confusing. Now I'm dissatisfied. There you go. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against doing giveaways. I just don't like where people try to pump them to be a great guy at the hobby because he gives $20K away to charity. And there is some of that, like, oh, I give away X amount, I'm a good guy. I understand where you're coming from on that. Baseball card curmudgeon, what is up? Good morning. John says, by the way, why is Baseball Reference listing home run derby victories as career milestones in the upper right? I know it kind of is. I mean, it's something to hang your hat on. Vehemently opposed to recognizing this as a baseball milestone. Okay. In that same, I will ask John, what are your thoughts on being voted to the All-Star game? Is that a milestone? I mean, I guess now I'm kind of stepping back from that. I mean, it's a fan vote, and I think Dylan Cease should be a damn All-Star. Dylan Cease not being an All-Star is un-effing believable. Dylan Cease is an All-Star. So All-Star shouldn't be like, and why in the hell do people use us as Hall of Fame? And I'm not saying anybody here does. They might, but All-Star appearances should have nothing to do with Hall of Fame voting. And is this guy a Hall of? Well, he was a 13-time All-Star. Of course, he's a Hall of Famer. No. So I'm if you don't recognize the home run derby winner as a baseball milestone, throw out the All-Star appearances. And I don't know your thoughts on that, but that's my thought. But I think it's a good mile. I think it's a milestone. Like, is it going to be something that you're going to put on your plaque in Cooperstown? No. Is it going to be, well, this guy, give him another check mark to the Hall of Fame because he won the 2021 home run derby? No, but I think it's something that can be applauded and recognized. George says, man, home run derby is great as a kid. Me and my cousins egged so many of those cheap ass balls back in the day, meaning you hit it and it distorts the shape of the ball, hit into an egg shape. Ed says the brackets do make it a little, gassy this morning. The brackets do make it a little more interesting. Card Hobbyist says J-Rod should have hit second in the finals since he hit more home runs than Soto. I guess I didn't realize how the brackets shaped out. I think, yeah, I would probably agree with that. Those cheap buckets of balls from the sports shops were terrible. Cooter says, so basically they went back to the matchup of the original 1960 home run derby. That would have been a great show had the host not died after season 1. John says there should be a pitcher derby. Try to throw 3 pitches in under 2 minutes. Will this be Bo's most watched YouTube video because it has giveaways as the first word in the title? Hey, I didn't even plan that. I didn't even think about that. I was just, in fact, I made this thumbnail last night laying in bed. I'm just like, it was like top of mind. And usually when I wake up, I'm all groggy. I don't even know what day it is. And then I have to figure out what I'm going to talk about. And then that happened this morning. I'm like, oh, what am I going to talk? Oh, hey, I have topics and I know already. I'm good to go. Let's see. Cooter says, why not include home run derby? Ken Burns' base documentary seemed to get it. Has been said stats recognized. It has been said stats recognized. KBO has done a perfect pitch where players threw at bats to knock them over. MLB All-Star Ballot is a popularity contest. I agree. They also need to get rid of every team needs to be represented by a player. I agree. ×2. Leo. I agree. Both points. Bronco Packer fan, what is up? Hey, Bo, can't wait for the Madison Card Show this weekend. Awesome. Come introduce yourself. Look forward to meeting you. When when low roller ball scratcher finds out you're giving stuff away, this place will be a zoo. The heat is getting to John. Mark says, I've got a poll running on Twitter now. Did you watch the home run contest? 60% no, 40% yes. Are you watching the game tonight? 65% no, 35% yes. So I did watch the home run derby, and I will probably not watch the All-Star game. And that's usually I watch like the pregame ceremonies. Like I like the All-Stars getting announced on the field. I like the lead up, but then the game just doesn't really interest me. Maybe I'll watch the first couple innings, and then sometimes I say that and I end up watching the whole. Like I'm doing other things, like I'm sorting cards or listing cards, but the game's on in the background, and I pick my head up every once in a while to look at the TV. Huddle Card Collection says brackets were set by number of home runs in the regular season. Let's see. Cooter says All-Star appearances are comparable to Gold Gloves. Home Run Derby is a TV production. John says, I miss the Happy Days cast softball team. Those folks could ball. George says, by the way, in my Twitter poll, more people wanted to be Baconator from Wendy's than a Big Mac or Whopper. Nope on the Home Run Derby. Will probably catch the highlights. John says, my phone keeps overheating. Never had this happen in Vegas. God hates the English. I'm collateral damage. So that's my Home Run Derby talk. And the only national talk you'll hear, Juan Soto, your Home Run Derby champion, member of the Washington Nationals. MLB Draft continues today. Where are we at? 11th round picks up today. 11 through 20. The last 20 or the last rounds. It's now 20 rounds of the Major League Baseball draft. So I think John asked yesterday, like, what are some of the numbers of people, of players, like making the team? And then I'm like, well, we've got to kind of, make leagues, that's an accomplishment. Well, I mean, it's always an accomplishment, but you know what I'm saying. I think if you like Cubs first round draft pick Rick James, not the Rick James, but Rick James, makes the show. He was the 6th overall pick in 1965. He only played in 3 games. I would say it's kind of a bust for a 6th overall pick. So I just picked some random. I did some research on random draft picks, not by round, but by picks. I did number 1, number 10, number 30, and then from yesterday I picked out 3, 2 of them being Cubs picks, and then the first pick of the 3rd round. So the number 1 overall pick, these are numbers, and I went through the year 2020 because Spencer Torkelson has already made his debut. Now, some of these numbers will be a bit skewed because, recent draft number 1 overall draft picks may not have reached the 162 game milestone that I used because it's once So number one overall pick, 52 of 50 number one overall picks through the year 2020 have played at least one game. That's almost 95% of your number one overall picks was made at least an appearance in the big leagues. But now you say, well, if they've only played in, had a cup of coffee, it's a number one overall pick. Should we really be bragging about that number? So at least 162 games. And of course I use that benchmark because of a 162 game regular season. So they played probably parts of two seasons, at least parts of two seasons. So of the number one overall picks through the year 2020, so I didn't use 2021. It's going to be a little skewed because Spencer Torkelson, like Rich just mentioned, sent back to the minors, so he won't log 162 games. He likely will at some point next year. 35 of 55 have played in at least 162 games. That's the number one overall pick. 35 of 55 have played at least 162 games. From a percentage standpoint, that's a tick under 64%. That's your number one overall. Number 10 overall. I just picked some random picks. Number 10 overall to play at least one game, 87.2%. That's 48 out of 55. And I use the same years, 1965 through 2020. Now, if we extrapolate that out to the players that appeared in 162 games or more, that number drops to 30 out of 55. So roughly 55% of number 10 overall draft picks will play at least 162 games in their career. Now we go on to the number 30 overall pick, which is a first round pick. Now, back in 1965, it would have been a second round pick. Number 30 overall to appear in at least one game. We now drop to 56%. So we go from 95% at number 1 to 87% at number 10 to 56% at number 30. 31 out of 55 to play at least one game. 12 out of 55 played at least 162 games. That's just under 22%. So to play at least 162 games, number 1, 64%. Number 10, 55%. Number 30, 20%. So those are first round numbers. So let's do pick number 81. And I because that was the first pick, number 81. And I went through the year 2018 because there wasn't anybody from the previous 4 drafts. Give it some time. So 54 players between 1965 and 2018. 16 out of 54 played at least one game. That's 30%. 6 out of 54 played in at least 162 games. This is for pick overall 81. That's 11%. Number 81 picks, and I picked because these are random picks in the third round now. Jerry Mumphrey and Eric Sogard are examples. Those are the best players picked at number 81 overall. 54 played in at least one game. That's 39%. 8 out of 54 played in at least 162 games. That's 15%. This is pick number 86. The best, Ozzie Smith, was pick number 86. Matt Clement was also pick number 86. And one last one. I've probably all and this George, this happened randomly. Pick number 113. Pick number 113 in the Major League Baseball. This one in at least one game. And I used 55 because I went out one more year because whoever was pick number 113 in 2019 actually has already made his big league debut. 29% played in at least one game from pick number 113. And only 2 out of 55 played in at least 162 games. Someone must have closed. I just got the connection issue come up on my computer. 2 out of 55 played in at least 162 games, 3.6%. One of those 2 was Georgia's guy and my least favorite baseball player of all time, the most hated player, Yadier Molina. He was pick number 113. Current Cub Alfonso Rivas was also a pick at number 113 in 2018. So those are some draft notes. Somebody asked, I think John asked yesterday about some numbers. He probably didn't expect me to go into that much statistical detail. So there you go. Apologies for lulling you to sleep with those numbers. So that's what I had for today. Let's check the chat real quick before my internet crashes. Let's see. Bo has already had his national decision video, so no need for him to rehash an old bit. Actually, there was also a WABC newsman named Rick James during their top 40 era when we all knew the same songs. Rick James was grinding his feet at Eddie Murphy's couch. Torkelson sent down to the minors this week. To be honest, that was probably because the team wanted to say, see, we didn't waste your ticket money. He made the MLB. There you go. John is just grumpy because everyone is referring to him as a Yank, despite the Yaz t-shirt he is probably wearing. George picked his nose this morning. Wasn't a number one pick. Card Hobbyist says someone must have closed the lead Wi-Fi cabinet already. Most likely. John says number one pick, John Evans, who's also in the UK. Both of our Johns in the chat are in the UK right now. John Evans says number one pick is basically one standard deviation from the mean, about 68% in a normal distribution, but that's a little too much like work. That'll really put us to sleep. So that's what I had for today. Thanks for tuning in. Awesome stuff. Also tonight, I don't know if I'll watch it. I might turn it on, have it on in the background. I might not even turn it on. Who knows? Let's see what else is going on. I'll be back on tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. Card show this weekend in Madison. Madison Card Show, Saturday, July 23rd. That's this Saturday. Sold out, 120 tables. Show runs from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sheraton Hotel on John Nolan Drive. Free admission. Going to be a heck of a fun show. Great show. I'm getting a ton of, I think I did a count the other day. I think I'm up to like 14 or 15. First time got a guy coming in from Chicago who has a ton of sealed wax at really good prices. He's gonna be in. Of course, 5-star cards. You can submit cards to PSA or SGC through 5-star. They'll be up in the mezzanine. If you're into Pokemon, I've got several Pokemon dealers. Great vintage selection. Let's see who else. Real Breaks. My buddy Tom from Real Breaks will be in. He's got some awesome deals on sealed wax. Let's see. Brad from Stoughton, the Nelson cards in Stoughton, he'll be in the house. My buddy Scotty P. Who else? Matt Skaggs. He jumps in the chat every once in a while. Nick, who's in the chat usually. Nick and Colton will be in the house. Kyle Brown. My buddy Quentin. John from Cards in the Attic. I'm trying to go through the room. The Lambricks coming down from Green Bay. My buddy Sean coming in from Kansas City 2 months in a row. So that's he's got some awesome stuff. So come see Sean. So yeah, gonna be an awesome show. Can't wait. This Saturday, Madison Card Show, 120 tables, sold out, 9 to 3, free admission. Let's see. Jenny says, are you posting all-star player cards in your eBay store today? Rich adds, Jenny, that's a great idea. Not really. I've just kind of been going through what I've been listing lately is what I've pulled out of my dime boxes, which I think I've already gone through and listed all here over the last 2 weeks. I started last night as I was on Derby. I started looking at trying to find football boxes in a lot of my football, Mosaic and Prism, that I can't scan and list quick. So, and then I couldn't find many of my football boxes. So, because I want to start listing some football since training camp starts. Training camp has had to have started by now, July 19th. But anyway, so I have so much baseball to list that I'm just listing as fast as I can. And right now, baseball is just what I have. So let's see. Tracy says up to 150 in my eBay store. Goal is to get to 300 before I go back to school. Teaching in 2 weeks. Very nice. George is asking John about cheesesteaks in the UK. So we are now at the 1 hour mark. I'm going to run. Have a great Tuesday. We'll catch you all again tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. See you then.